Welcome back to How Do I on Photoshop Basics. This is part 2, so if you haven't seen part 1 yet, go here and you can learn all about the marquee tool. However, if you've already seen that, then stay tuned because we're going to be exploring the Lasso Tool and we'll be using it in an example. Here we go. So as you notice, the original document is actually at a slight angle, which means if we were to try to select this, we would have quite a difficult time trying to get these lines all matched up. It'd be very difficult. So there's a much easier way to do this, and that is using the Lasso tool. So I'm going to click on this and I'm just going to come up here, make sure it's on the new selection. And the Lasso tool does almost what it sounds. Think cowboys and Indians. The lassos that make the big loops, that's exactly what we're going to make. And how this tool works, if you click and hold your mouse and start drawing around the edge, you can see there's a line that it's making. And what we're going to do, we're going to loop around. So I'm using my mouse here slowly, believe it or not, to move around this page to make a much closer selection. And once you get to the end here, all I'm going to do is let go of the mouse. And there we go. It's made a selection for us. See here how we can move it around? That's actually not a bad selection for that. But we've kind of gone over X and other bits. So again, with this mouse, this is the plus key. So I'm holding down Shift to add parts to it. So down here, I've just missed out one or two bits, haven't I? So I can add to that. Now what I did that time was I didn't complete that. Did you notice? Came down here, move this around to here and up here. Now if I let go, it's going to connect this end point here where my mouse is to the beginning point and make that selection, which is a really nice feature of this tool. And this time I'm holding down Alt, and as you might have guessed, anything that I'm going to select is going to be removed because I'm using the subtract. So that's not too bad of a selection for a mouse. However, if I wanted it more pinpoint, much straighter edges, there's a much better way to do this using some of the other tools in Lasso. So I'm going to deselect, come over here. Now if I right mouse click on this tool, you can notice more options come up. And this is true for any of these tools. Let's go down to one you've not seen: a brush tool, the clone stamp, the history brush, the pen tool. We'll get into that, that one's fun. But for today, we're going to look at the Lasso tool. So we just used Lasso tool. So now let's click on the Polygonal Lasso tool. This one works slightly differently. If I click, it's just going to draw a perfectly straight line. Yet it's not selecting any of the areas. I need to manually tell it where the next point is, you could say. So I'm going to click here with the left mouse button and note, there we go, yep. I can click and click and click and click, and what this is doing, it's making a really sharp selection of this. So I'm just going to quickly come around here. So in this case, because my shape has a lot of straight lines, this tool is actually perfect for it. Now you're wondering, how do I, close the shape? How do I make it a selection? Because it's not doing anything. It's just going to go on forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever. Well, we'll get to that because I have made a mistake here, as you've noticed. This obviously isn't part of the book. So to remove points you have clicked that you don't want, all you need to do is press the backspace key and it will delete the last point where you clicked. So there we go, and it's clicked and backspace and backspace and backspace, backspace, and we're back to where we were. And we can go more and more and more. So I'm going to redo these. Now pay close attention to the mouse itself. As I get close to the original point, can you see how the mouse cursor changes from the icon where it's got then a little circle? Once it's got that little circle on, that means the loop is complete. So I'm going to click And there we go. We've made a nice complete shape again, one which we can move around. Now again, we can use the subtract and add to add or subtract parts from this. So I actually don't want this pencil selected. So I'm going to hold down my shift key again, carefully select it out. Because I decided, you know what, I just want to select the white page. There we go. And again, notice how once I get to the end or the beginning, it forms the circle and I just click and it's made it for it. So it's made the shape for me. So now all I need to do, I can move and you can see the selection. The final tool in here is the magnetic lasso tool. Now this is a fun combination of both of them. So what this will do, it acts like the lasso tool, which means it will follow my mouse wherever it goes. But it also puts down points where it thinks that, oh, that's where you want to go. It's very clever. So I'm going to click and move my mouse and you can see it's adding little points. Even if I move my mouse down here, there we go, it's beginning to follow a little bit. But it's trying to figure out the best point selection. It's very smart. So even if you go, oh, well, that's probably a bit too much actually, wasn't it? So again, here I can use the backspace key and delete those points. And come around here. It's doing a pretty good job of cutting this out actually. Now what's fun is if I did want, for example, I'm going to put it back here and get rid of some of these points. Ooh, there we go. And if I say I didn't want that pencil in there, but it's not smart enough to realize that, I can click with the mouse and make my own points. And click, there we go. And now it's sort of realized, oh, maybe you want this shape as well. And I don't trust it to make this nice smooth shape up here. So I'm going to click a couple of times and make sure it gets them for me. And I'm going to come back down here, click again. There we go. Very nice. So this is actually a really easy way to make a selection because it will do it all for you, pretty much. You just need to be careful that it will select everything that you want, because sometimes it will select something that you don't want or it will miss out something that you do want. Note again how when I get to the beginning, it's made that little circle with mouse. So I'm going to click again and I'm quite happy with that selection, except for this little bit up here. Now there's nothing stopping us from combining these tools together. So I'm going to use this Lasso tool just to add to that, and well, I'm still not happy with that. So let's use the Polygonal tool with the plus, so that's the selection. Note how it changes up here as well. And if I do the shift, there we go, very nice. So I just want to add the selection, so I'm going to come down here and click, holding down shift, click, and somewhere, there it is. There's my circle. So there we go. That's a really nice cutout selection. So now that we know the basics of this, let's get into our example. I'm just going to close this by clicking the little X. Nope. And I'm going to open two images. You do that. So that's my first image, space, very nice, an Earth space image. And then on my second image, I've got a nice astronaut. We'll get into the workspaces in another episode. I just wanted to show you a little way we can use this. So what I want to do, I want to cut out the spaceman and put him on this background instead, because I think it'll look much better. So I want to cut him out. So I am using the magnetic lasso tool just to make a quick selection around him, because I think there's enough variance. So I'm very quickly just going around him. And anytime I think that Photoshop might struggle with the selection, I'm going to click. See here? See, I've cut that out so we can get back to that later. Come around here, yes, it's doing a pretty good job. So I'm going to speed this next part up just so I don't bore you. Now here, we're actually going to go into the clothing. So I'm going to purposely click and show it where to go a lot more. This is still using the Polygonal tool. So I'm going to click. Now it might not make a good selection for that. click around. Yeah, it seems to be doing a good job. So I'll keep you guys with me for this next part, just so you can see what I'm doing, because it's quite intricate. Come on here, yep. Move that, hopefully it'll get that bit nice. And we'll pot it back up here, good. See, this is an issue it'll have, it's selected areas I don't want. So there we go, I've made that selection. Now as you notice, we've cut out different bits. I wanted this bit gone, which is fine, but up here it's, well, it's not selected that bit that I wanted. It's missed out some bits here and here. So I think I'm going to go use the Polygonal tool. So I right mouse clicked on this tool and I'm going to click, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to hold the shift key. Sorry, I'm going to hold down the alt key. This is currently inside the selection, and I'm going to manually click on areas that I don't want selected. And in this case, it's the background. That's one. I've got a nice tool here. This is obviously a little bit of a quick selection I'm doing. And down here as well, wasn't it? So let's just do that bit. Very nice. Now over here, I want to add a selection. So I'm going to hold down the shift key and I'm going to go outside of it first. So that's going to make it all. Now here's a nice little trick. If you can't be asked or don't know where the beginning of your selection tool was, you can click anywhere, but if you double click, it will automatically close the loop for you no matter where your mouse is on the page, which is really handy. So let's see, I think, yes, this time I'm going to hold down Alt and I'm just going to click here. And I missed a bit, didn't I? Yep. Nice. Okay. And over here, it decided that it wasn't going to add this little bit in. So there we go. So I've made an alright selection there, I think. Fairly happy with that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come over to my layers to make sure it's selected, which it is, and I'm going to press Control C. This will copy the selection that I have made. Now this is one of the big uses for selections. So I'm going to copy that. Now you come up here to edit and you can copy it up here. So let's do that again. Now I'm going to go onto a different image, this one for example, and I'm going to press Control V. And here we go, we've got our spaceman. Now you can remember from the previous episodes the shrink, or should I say the transform tool, because I think he's a bit too big. So holding down shift, because I want to make sure the ratio is the same, I'm going to shrink him down, moving up. There we go, that doesn't look too bad, does it? And I'm going to hit enter to confirm the change. Yeah, that's not bad. So that's one example of the way you can use these tools to combine and use images together. And just a nice little extra bit, I'm going to scribble out the word hoi and show you something else. Because what you can do, very quickly, I'm going to use the brush tool, and what's really fun about the selection tools is, notice how I'm painting outside, but it's not actually moving. However, if I paint inside my selection, it doesn't go outside that. Look at that. Which is really handy. So I'm going to do the same here and here. I'm going to use my brush tool again. The spaceman is saying hi. Because, you know, that's what you do in space. You say hi. And that's that. If you found this helpful, leave a like. And if you've got any questions or would like to leave a comment, it would really mean a lot to me. So until next time, doodles. This has been How Do I on Photoshop Basics. If you missed part 1, go that way. And if you'd like to know more and learn more, click below to subscribe.